What if I told you that one of the deadliest wars in human history didn't happen in Europe? Not in the Middle East, but in 19th century China. And it was led by a man who claimed to be the brother of Jesus Christ. This is the story of the Taiping Rebellion, a bloody civil war that killed over 30 million people, tore an empire apart, and changed the course of Chinese history forever. And yet, most of the world knows nothing about it. Let's change that. In the mid-1800s, while Europe battled revolutions, while America prepared for civil war, China erupted into chaos. A poor man from a remote village claimed he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. He raised an army of peasants, workers, and the poor. They called themselves the Taiping, heavenly peace. But what followed was anything but peaceful. In just 14 years, over 30 million people died. That's more than World War I, more than the Napoleonic Wars, more than almost any conflict in human history. In the early 1800s, the Qing Dynasty ruled China. It was the world's largest empire, and it was falling apart. Famine swept the countryside. The Yellow River flooded entire provinces. Farmers went hungry. Taxes rose. Corruption infected the local governments. And the elites grew fat while peasants starved. Then came the foreigners. Britain, France, and others forced China to open its ports, surrender Hong Kong, and legalize opium trade, all after the humiliating First Opium War. The Qing emperor looked weak. The people were angry, and amid the despair, someone claimed to bring salvation. Meet Hong Xiuquan. Born in 1814, son of a poor Hakka family in Guangdong province. He was bright, ambitious, and wanted to become a civil servant. That meant passing China's brutal imperial exams. He tried and failed. Not once, not twice, but 4 times. After his final failure, something snapped. He collapsed into a delirious fever that lasted 40 days. He claimed to see a radiant man in a golden robe, a bearded old father figure, angel with flaming swords, demons with horns. When he woke, Hong believed he had met God, and that God had told him, "You are the younger brother of Jesus. You must cleanse China of demons." He found a Christian pamphlet left by missionaries and connected the dots. It all made sense to him. He wasn't a failure, he was chosen. Hong began preaching, first to friends, then to strangers, and the message spread like wildfire. He condemned the Manchu rulers as demons. He promised land to the poor. He banned opium, alcohol, and prostitution. He preached equality of men and women. He told people, the old world is dying, a heavenly kingdom is coming. And thousands joined him. Farmers, fishermen, disgruntled soldiers, even women joined the fight. By 1850, Hong and his followers had formed a militant cult. They called themselves the God Worshippers, and they were ready for war. In 1851, Hong declared a new kingdom, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. He crowned himself the Heavenly King, the divine ruler of a new China. His army, nearly 1 million strong, began marching north. City after city fell. In 1853, they captured Nanjing, one of China's largest and most important cities. They renamed it Tianjin, Heavenly Capital. The empire was stunned. The Qing were in panic, and Hong now ruled over 30 million people. Inside Tianjin, the Taiping rulers imposed their laws. Confucianism was banned. Buddhist temples were destroyed. Men and women lived in segregated quarters. All land was shared. All wealth redistributed. Women served as soldiers. It was a radical theocracy, part Christian utopia, part authoritarian nightmare. The Qing struck back, hard. They raised new armies. They called in foreign generals. And they sent wave after wave to crush the rebellion. What followed was a 14-year bloodbath. Cities were leveled, villages burned, captured soldiers were executed in the thousands. Civilians were massacred for harboring rebels. In response, the Taiping executed anyone who resisted them. They burned down Buddhist temples. They slaughtered Manchus. They killed anyone suspected of disloyalty. In some battles, 100,000 people died in a single day. Entire rivers ran red. At first, European missionaries were curious. After all, the Taiping were Christian. But the more they looked, the more they saw chaos. Hong Xiuquan didn't follow the Bible. He rewrote it. He claimed divine authority. He banned traditional churches. He believed he alone could speak for God. That worried the West, and they were more worried about trade. If the Qing fell, who would protect the ports, the prophets, the opium? So the British, French, and even Americans began helping the Qing. They trained special armies like the ever-victorious army, led by British and American officers. With foreign weapons and tactics, the Qing pushed back. By the early 1860s, the tide had turned. Taiping leaders grew paranoid. They turned on each other. Some were assassinated, others executed. Hong Xiuquan locked himself in his palace. He stopped attending meetings. He believed the end times were near. Outside, the Qing surrounded Nanjing. They cut off food supplies. Inside the city, famine hit hard. People ate rats, then grass, then each other. Hong claimed God would deliver manna from heaven. He ate only weeds, and in June 1864, he died. Some say it was suicide. Others say starvation. Either way, the heavenly king was dead. Weeks later, Qing troops stormed the city. The streets ran with blood. Over 100,000 Taiping followers were killed in the final massacre. The rebellion was crushed, but the scars would never fade. The Taiping Rebellion remains one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. More than 30 million people died. Some say up to 50 million. Entire regions of China were depopulated. Economies collapsed. Cities vanished. Cultural treasures were lost forever. And yet, most of the world doesn't know it happened. Why? It was a Chinese civil war, not a global one. The West saw it as a footnote. China, under later regimes, avoided discussing religious uprisings. But its echoes can still be felt. It exposed the fragility of empire. It showed the power of belief and delusion. And it paved the way for future uprisings, including the fall of the Qing Dynasty just decades later. One man thought he was divine. Millions believed him. And the price? A generation wiped out. This was the Taiping Rebellion, the bloodiest war you've never heard of until now. Want more lost history? Hit subscribe. What topic should we uncover next? Drop it in the comments, and if this story shocked you, share it. Let more people know what happened.